So today I'm going to tell you that fate is bullshit. Yeah. Sweat equity is a lie. And it's very important that you understand that you have to first get happy, then get known by creating a personal brand in order to get that cash money, y'all. Right? So if you want to have people actually come to you with those jobs that are your dream job and not have to complete some sort of coding exam, I'll be honest, I haven't done a coding exam for the last 3 jobs I've had. No code samples, nothing. Crazy. They came to me. Not joking. It's all about how you establish yourself, how you project yourself, and that they feel a certain amount of confidence just from the brand that you put out there. And capitalizing on the work that you're already doing. You're probably already spending time doing your own code on the side and all those kinds of things. Why are you not publishing it? Why are you not taking that step? So that's why I'm gonna say, you are elite, but no one knows it, right? You could be the best person on your team, but if the world doesn't know how to find you, it doesn't matter. Because then you're going to have to prove it every single time, every single job to every new boss. I'll be honest, when I'm looking at somebody, I always check, what do they have? So let's kind of start with how you actually get to that point. And the first step is really to talk about what's going on in this talk, which is to say, yes, there will be some bad language. I think I implied that by the first thing I said. So we will have swag. Everyone in here should have gotten a sticker, and if you haven't, we've got more up front, and we can definitely take one and pass it back. There's going to be some southern US slang, like I said earlier, with the cash money, y'all. So just be aware, I am American. I'm going to say some things that are very American. So, you know, have some understanding there. There's going to be a lot of quotes. This is supposed to be inspirational. Do you feel inspired thus far?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're going to love these quotes. They're going to feel really good. Participation is rewarded. So I have a couple of things up here for people who ask questions or answer questions. And one of those is a brand new Logitech presenter. Ooh. And for people who ask questions at the end, I've got some of my Stacy droid pins and that kind of thing, which are very exclusive. Look at I.O. It was a big deal. Okay. So a little bit about my story. I was that kid that kind of did everything right? A lot of you, probably, got good grades, was in the right participation groups, academic decathlon, kind of college level classes when you were in middle school and high school, kind of did all those things right. Got good grades in college, did pretty good, had lots of projects to show. And then you get into the real world, and it's a dumpster fire. My first job sucked. I have times where I see things that I remember from my first job, and it just makes me shudder a little bit. You're like going, oh God, no. But it's one of those things everybody kind of goes through, right? And part of that is I wasn't findable online. They weren't coming to me, I was going to them. And I took what I needed, not what I wanted. And then kind of further on, there's a little bit of tea there, right? Kind of found out through the working world, I was constantly having to prove myself. I was having to prove myself maybe a little bit more because I didn't look like the rest of kind of the other folks in tech around me. So I was constantly being judged. And, you know, really, it didn't feel good. I had a coworker who I was in charge of that I was making $17,000 less than. And then when I asked to actually be made up to the same level, I was told, well, they need more for their families. Dude was single. I'm not joking. So once I kind of got all of these things together and I really figured out what are employers looking for, what do I want out of myself, what do I want to show the world, what do I want to share with the world, I stopped making that dollar bills, y'all. It was all about, it's really amazing how you can capitalize, and maybe even if you have the right branding, you don't know how to actually capitalize on that branding. So it's all kind of a stepped process. So getting happy. How can anyone appreciate you when you don't appreciate you, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and say there are some much better talks on just this when it comes to personal care, fighting burnout, all of those kinds of things. Highly recommend these 3 because they are very much directed at developers and developer-centric kind of problems. On my slides, this is clickable to the YouTube links. Don't worry, I'll be sharing those out. So get happy why? Right? When we self-regulate well, we are better able to control the trajectory of our emotional lives and resulting actions based on our values and sense of purpose. What that means is when you actually take the time to make sure that you're kind of doing the things that really matter to you and really matter to other people, and you're not overextending yourself, you're actually able to make the better choices, right? You're actually able to feel more fulfilled from those choices too. And it's very important, part of regulating is to learn to say no. There are times where people ask me to go and do things, and it's really, I feel honored, but at the end of the day, I run 2 meetup groups. I've got a couple of mentorships that I kind of run. I have a job, I'm pregnant, that also takes hours out of the day. Like, there's only so much that you can do. And so, keep this in mind. Love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. How you get to choose how you use it. You teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. That's also true of the workplace. Because if you actually say, no, I'm not going to work 10 hours a day, I'm going to do whatever I can reasonably fit within 8 hours a day or within a flexible schedule, they're going to start to make that part of their habits. If you continue to let yourself be overworked, why would they ever not let you be overworked or not push you to be overworked? Because every time that you put in hours beyond, that's essentially free money to them. Right? That's what I said earlier. Sweat equity doesn't pay jack, does it? Because it didn't increase your salary when you did it. It's pretty rough, but it's true. And you can't judge yourself. How many people here compare themselves to others a little too frequently? It's really, really hard, especially for people who are type A, who are even in work, what do? They compare you to other people in your group. It didn't matter how good the group was, or maybe how much the group achieved. It's always judged based on how relative to the group you are, right? How important your role is. And odds are, if you're a developer, they might be doing something stupid in terms of managers, and that's going, oh, well, I see this person committed 10,000 lines of code in the last 3 months, and this person only contributed 5. But that 5,000 lines of code was written concisely and well and made so that it's a reusable component. That's better code. But they don't necessarily know that, do they? Right? Why should we not judge ourselves? Be kind to yourself. Remember that when you abuse yourself, you will experience the anger, regret, and apathy of the bully, as well as the depression, anxiety, and insecurity of the victim. You lose in both cases because you feel bad for judging yourself and for putting yourself against that, and then you also know that you can't even compare. So at the same point in time, you don't know what their problems are. Everybody's got something fucked up about them. We all do. We all have some sort of burden or problems to bear. And if you are somebody who thinks, oh, well, I can just lay my problems down and exchange them for someone else's, well, if everyone in this room did that, everyone would be fighting for a few people who maybe have just a few problems at this moment. And odds are you're going to be left with problems that you can't understand and that are far harder than what you actually laid down on the table. So don't think that just because they've achieved something great, they haven't gone through something terrible. Stress kills. Working late hours, doing that to yourself, yikes. What does it do to your body? Gives you sleep problems, gives you muscle fatigue, gives you headaches. All of these things make you less good at your job, and gives you a lack of sex drive. So you don't even feel motivated to do work, do you? You gotta make money to go meet somebody, and then, yeah. Well, I mean, that all contributes to your overall happiness. If your body is stressed out, how are you going to be able to be happy with your life at that moment? What does it do to your mind? Anxiety, lack of focus, anger, depression. Does that sound like somebody who's a good teammate and somebody who's pleasurable to work with? No, it doesn't. You need to invest in yourself. What kind of investment? Quality tools of your trade. If you're somebody who's an independent developer, you need to buy yourself a nice damn laptop. All right? Don't be cheap on those kinds of things. Get yourself a quality keyboard, good monitors, anything that makes you feel a little bit of joy and a little bit of happiness when you sit down, and a little bit of just, oh my gosh, this is my space, this is my controlled area, and ownership, right? If your compile times are 10 minutes, that doesn't feel good, doesn't feel productive. I mean, unless you really like reading comics in between compile times or getting into foam sword fights, which is totally a thing, but not really entirely appropriate. Time. Hobbies or doing nothing. If you don't have a hobby, you don't have something that isn't work to think about. Hobbies can be anything from basket weaving to underwater basket weaving. I don't care. It could be any kind of thing that just makes you happy. There's a number of people who are, especially in kind of the hobbies that I'm into. I have a bunch of old pinball machines. I have a bunch of old computers and video game consoles, and I do a lot of repair and kind of building things, stuff with my hands. I highly recommend stuff with your hands as a developer, because all we do is we sit in front of a screen and we type things, usually. So it's very good to kind of get something that's a totally different mindset, or at least a totally different tech stack or something, so that you're not constantly working on work. You're working on something for your own personal enjoyment. Relationships. Do you have at least 3 good friends that you could cry on their shoulder? Do you? That's a real question. If you don't spend time investing in your relationships, you don't have places or people to go to when shit hits the fan. And that will happen. So spend the time to invest in relationships and build networks. Networks of people to support each other, and networks of people to become better friends. Learn soft skills. This is one of those things that I think is sorely, sorely missing, is soft skills. Sorry, I'm gonna adjust my mic a little bit. When you actually take the time to talk to people, you become a more valuable asset for your company and just out in the world. Look at all the people you probably talked to here at droidCon. Very important that you are a communicator, because a communicator can actually get things accomplished. If you want to code in a walled room by yourself, don't join my team, or don't even apply. It's one of those things that, I feel like a personal relationship with everybody on my team and care for everyone on my team is a big part of what actually makes us work. Everyone needs help. It's very important that you realize that you are not alone, and there is a lot of things that you can do to optimize on your time and actually build relationships by realizing you need help. I don't care who you are, you do. What kind of help do you need? You need mentors who work in your field. Doesn't have to be directly app developers, but you need mentors that are people that might be in a position that you want to be in, or somebody who has just more experience in the areas that you are, somewhere in tech, that kind of thing. Mentors that align with your goals. So if there is somebody who is in a position that you want to be in, talk to them. Talk to a few of them. Make sure you're having a conversation with them at least like once every couple of months. Even if it's short, 15, 20 minutes, because that's gonna help you align your goals so that it aligns with that path of the place where you wanna be. Mentors who align with your personal life. This one's a really kind of hard one to understand, but there might be people in your life who are older, wiser, or just more experienced in a certain area, and you have personal life goals. Let's say you want to start a family, you want to end up in a relationship, or those kinds of things, or maybe move to a different country. These are part of your personal life goals. You need to talk to people who've actually been there, done that, and kind of worked through it. It's important. And paid career coaches and seminars. I have a career coach. I have an executive coach. Do you know how helpful that is? It's really freaking helpful. I know when I am being selfish. I know when I am making the wrong decisions in terms of personal interactions. I have got somebody that I can bounce off how I should actually interact with somebody in a professional manner. You know what it's gotten me? A couple jobs ago, I was pretty low on the totem pole, but I was talking directly to the VP of engineering of a Fortune 500 company on the regular. That's crazy, right? Like how many people in here really know their VP? Like a couple, right? Come on, man, come on. If you want to actually go further and have your work be recognized, it's really important that you know kind of how to navigate the politics of work. Politics are a reality, understand them. Pay people for services that you don't want to do. That's cleaning. Fixing stuff around the house and painting and all that kind of stuff. And heck, even grocery shopping. I no longer actually do my own grocery shopping. I pay for somebody to come through my house once a month and clean it. I also pay people to do plumbing, any kind of like major installations of things. Sometimes I'm even lazy about calling them, but the ultimate reality is that's all time that I gain back in order to do and handle the goals that I have. Everyone needs therapy. I go once a month. Do it online. It's a good way to basically not rag on your friends for an hour with somebody else who's totally third party, can give you independent judgment. I don't care if I'm generally well adjusted. I don't have any mental diseases, things like that. Really valuable. Now we're talking about the branding part of this talk. What do you need to be doing as a developer to get known and get out there? So you've gotten kind of all the things together that, you're happy, you kind of feel well adjusted, you have a balance to your life, and, if no one knows how good you are, then you aren't that good. That's the reality of the situation. Because if only a couple people know, it's not really very helpful. Personal branding is all about your unique promise of value and what you bring to the table. It's also about getting your potential clients to choose you as the only solution to their problem. This is an important one because when we come down to the bargaining table, when we come down to further down the line, if they see you as the only person that can actually handle the work that they have in front of them and that needs to get done, you are in a much better bargaining position, aren't you? But how do you know that you're in that position? Well, it's all because you've created a personal brand that aligns with what you want and kind of the companies that want to come to you. Personal branding. Define your brand. So a lot of you might be here kind of going, how do I even start with this? How do I even pick what my brand is? What does it count for? All of those things. Well, this sounds really terrible, but I say introspect on your perspective. Think about how you view the world that's differently from how other people view the world, and especially when it comes to the work that you do, right? So if we think about kind of what my personal brand is to a certain extent, it's kind of diversity and inclusion, with some high-tech Android spins on things, right? I always make sure that there's that aspect, but I do a lot of work to actually promote people of different identities in the tech community and underserved voices, and that's something that's very important to me. So that's my perspective, and that's what I actually project as part of my brand. Define your value beyond the technical. There are a lot of very smart people here. 1,200, in fact. Probably capable of doing the work that you do right now. Really. Stack Overflow exists. Google exists. There's a lot of great Slack forums, that kind of personal investment things. Technically, they just need somebody who's able to create an activity with a custom view and maybe does some fun slider things, right? It doesn't actually seem like it's that complicated. It's all about how good you are is how long it'll take, usually, or how nice it's gonna look, right? But think about what you bring that's beyond the technical. It has to be authentic. So it's something that you live every day. So when I talk about diversity, inclusion, and kind of high techiness, that's a reality I live every day. It's the brand that I present every day. If you look on my Twitter and my LinkedIn, it's the same, right? That kind of information is what I purposely put out there, and that's part of where I put my personal brand. Highlight what makes you unique. So, in my case, I'm quite loud. I'm quite over the top. That's why I'm probably here at this talk. And it's very important that you kind of say, okay, what it makes me different in the workplace from all these other people? And if you can't define yourself at this point, you have bigger problems. You really do, because you're an adult, you should understand yourself, you should know certain things about yourself, and if you're confused about that, I highly suggest you spend a lot more time with the therapist figuring out who you are as a person. But this is a very important thing, that you understand what makes you unique, and everyone in here, there are 1,200 unique individuals, no one looks the same, no one performs the same, no one talks the same. Heck, most of us aren't even from the same country. So think about that for a second. Social media. I talked a little bit about this earlier, and I only mentioned Twitter and LinkedIn. Why would I mention only Twitter and LinkedIn? So that's my public presence, right? So my GitHub, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, that's all very on brand. And I'll bring up some other things that you probably didn't know about me. I don't really post about the arcade stuff, do I? I don't really post about stuff, with old video games. I'm an organizer of a conference, gaming conference that has 7,000 people in it. Did you know that? Did anybody here know that? No, right? It's not part of my personal brand, so it's not what I promote publicly. So you have to think about that very quickly. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, go ahead, look it up. It's pictures of shoes. I have a picture of my wall of shoes. I got a shoe problem. That's where I go and I take pictures of my shoes. It's a thing. We all have weird hobbies. I'm just honest about mine. So think about that, your public presence in terms of where you actually want to make that known. Keep on brand. If you look, even on my Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, it is the same little branding logo on all of them, right? Mistress of Android. Builder of communities, diversity advocate, and unofficial swag lady, right? It's the same across the board. I made that up. I gave myself, I pulled like a Michael Jackson situation where he declared himself the king of pop. I just decided I was the mistress of Android a couple of years ago, and people started calling me that. So that's now part of my brand. How crazy is that, right? You can do the same. Do not spam. Okay, maybe here I might do like 5 posts a day, but like, do not be the person who's firing off 20 every day. You don't have 20 unique perspectives to share every day, 20 quality posts to put out there every day. If you look at a lot of people who are high-level brand influencers, they put out a few things every day or every few days, or heck, once a week. So think about that when you're actually talking about the content that you want to actually share with the world. Do not blast people all at once. Share it trickle. I know that I'm holding on to a few photos with folks that I'm going to trickle out for the next week, right? So I've got content just ready to go. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Do not say anything racist, homophobic, misogynistic that could be interpreted a little bit off. We had a very funny joke about Magnum ice cream. And if you say, do you have a Magnum in the United States, it has a totally different meaning. So we were dying, right? It's one of those things that you really need to think about the context of your audience. If your audience is predominantly in the United States, maybe you should see or ask somebody from the United States, is this something super weird or super funny or kind of off in the United States? And yeah, sometimes it can be. Get a logo, get an icon. Right? Something highly brandable. Y'all got those stickers, right? That's my logo, that's my icon. People go and they actually meet each other randomly. WWDC, iOS people met each other because they saw, oh my gosh, you have this, my logo on, your laptop. Hey, how do you know XYZ? That's an immediate way for people to actually connect, and it actually reinforces your brand. So get a logo, get an icon, get some sort of signature piece to it. And kind of going back even further, this is like my original icon from 2010. It's really old. I kind of reworked it a little bit, made it a little bit stand outer. This is kind of the newer iteration of that. And to kind of prove this, that's an HTC Evo where I actually replaced the HTC icon in the boot image. Not even the boot image, it's actually a whole partition. And that's from 2011, so I have been using this icon for quite some time. Including the terrible font choices at the bottom. And I even found the original blog post from like March 2011 or something like that. I had the device a little early. You're an adult, so take a real headshot. I'm sick of seeing dumb looking stuff on your LinkedIn profile. You know what I'm talking about. There's a sea of 50 people behind them, and they have one kind of like terrible hair headshot thing that they kind of cropped out, and their girlfriend was standing next to them, so you see a shoulder of someone else. Like, you're an adult. You can have a friend, there's gray panels back there, just take a couple decent pictures of you so that you look like a damn professional on your LinkedIn profile, all right? And I had some done a little while ago. Touch points, part of that brand reinforcement that I brought up earlier, right? So people can find each other by just interacting with your brand. Oh, shoot, no, you missed the whole animation. It was super cool. Dang it. All right. Go. All right. So what's really cool here is I have kind of all these little projects and things that are kind of part of what I consider my brand, and they all kind of reinforce it, right? It's got my logos, or it's something to do with making stuff, and really fun, cute things. Part of my hobbies, I've integrated my hobbies into my brand somewhat. But what's really cool is look at all these relationships that kind of came from that, right? The people that are here on the end, they're from Seoul, South Korea. They found me through the internet, and they absolutely wanted to come over and say hi, and we had a really great time. Like, how awesome is that, right? Those touch points, those items, it can be physical, it could be something that you've actually created with them, it could be all these kinds of things. I use the stickers basically because it's a great way to introduce somebody by giving them something for free. So nobody really argues with it. It's kind of cute. It doesn't have any kind of corporation logo, that kind of thing, but it is something that reinforces. Publish everything. You really need to publish absolutely everything. What do I mean by that? GitHub all your shit, even the mistakes. Because quite honestly, if you don't have an example code on GitHub, I will ask for it. And I don't even care if it's necessarily good code. I just want to see that you're willing to show that you make mistakes and that you've gotten better over time, or that you at least tried something new, tried something outside of the workplace, because that shows me that you care. It shows employers that you care. Your problems are everyone's problems. So if you're trying to think about what kind of thing should I start with, copy someone else's code, make a few changes that fix a problem with it, or just write some code as an example for a problem, done. You've already made it. It took like an hour and a half, right? And like I said earlier, it's evidence that you care about what you do. You are only as strong as your network, so be part of the community. That means either online or in person. I don't care. Show up somewhere, do something, or otherwise you are never going to be known. Because if you don't actually put yourself out there in some capacity, you're never going to actually go anywhere. And in terms of that, go to a conference or a few, like here, join your local GDG meetup or events, contribute to open source or Stack Overflow. If I see you have some rep on Stack Overflow, I know you care about what you do. If you have some open source project that you're contributing to, I know you care about what you do. And you care about more than just yourself. And you are a team player. I don't necessarily care about how good your reviews are on LinkedIn from people that you also gave a good review to on LinkedIn. Right? Like, that could be total. I guarantee you I can get somebody to write an awesome LinkedIn review for me for literally $50 for buying them lunch. Right? So I'm not going to look at that. Employers really aren't going to look at that. And join an Android Slack or a Discord. There's a few of these. It's a great way to know when you're making mistakes, you have people to ask. Great way to find mentors, kind of get involved in the community and get better directions. I wouldn't be here were it not for those kind of groups and people encouraging me to, I don't know, submit for a conference that's literally halfway around the world from where I live, right? It's crazy. I'm in Germany, okay? All right. Get paid. All right, we've established that personal brand. We've actually made some headway into the world. How do I capitalize on it? You gotta spend money to make money. This is an old proverb, right? And it's very true, right? You gotta invest in order to get a return. You invest either time, because time is money, or you invest money, which is time, right? So either way, you're spending money to make money. Get better at your job by knowing what you actively bring to the table. Sweat equity is not a thing. Your unique skill set is what is actually paying you, right? If you're a great communicator, if you're somebody who's great at motivating people and getting people collected around a certain idea, or maybe you're really good at UI UX work, or you're really great at architecture, that's a unique thing that you bring to the table that they can't find just anywhere. And that's where we talked about that personal brand earlier, right? The quote says that you are basically able to fulfill the promise of what your brand promises, right? You're able to deliver on that. So know what you actually bring to the table. This is where kind of figuring that out is important. So there's DISC, which is basically a type of figuring out what kind of person you are. For me, I am a DI, which means that I am very direct, but I also tend to be kind of inspirational. Y'all feel inspired? I'm very good at getting people to kind of congregate around an idea or a project or do that kind of management. But also, when it comes to being direct, I'm not very good at sugarcoating things. I use a lot of curse words. I think you picked up on that. So understand how that affects you and how you affect other people and how you actually work with other people who have different personality types. It's a really great way to understand when you need to step back and let somebody else come forward, or when you need to push somebody a little bit further because they need that support. Executive career coach. It's part of continuing that, right? So it's consistent assessment of what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong and how you're playing politics. There's always going to be a certain amount of politics, but it's also important that you recognize how your relationships are with other people that you work with and how that affects your job and your ability to either shine or make the team shine or actually get things accomplished. It doesn't really help if you're awesome at UI work and you constantly fight with the head of UI, does it? It really doesn't. And you have to understand what actually motivates them. And understanding what motivates them helps you understand better what you should be doing as your job to make their job better, right? It's all about kind of paying it up. Negotiation, this is a hard one. First quote, don't bargain yourself down before you get to the table. Don't think that you are unworthy in any way, shape, or form. And also, if a company asks you what you're making now, fucking lie, all right? Just, if it's not a number that you feel really concrete about at the time, you can actually just say, you know, I'm kind of exploring what my options are and seeing what I'm really worth in the marketplace. And that puts them on their toes, because they don't necessarily know. And sometimes they post a salary range, and the salary range is also a lie, all right? I will tell you right now, they always post the salary range about 20 to 40% lower than what they're actually willing to pay. And do not believe HR people are like, oh, this is just so much higher. You talk to the manager, and that's the person who matters. Whoever's the HR manager and you're trying to negotiate with them, that's the wrong person. Tell them you want to talk to the manager who's actually trying to hire your ass into that room, right? Because that person has leeway. The HR person doesn't. So kind of the art of negotiation, right? So you need to prepare. Find out what your actual market value is, why you are a premium, and why you are needed. When we talked about that unique skill set, that's a big-ass bargaining chip, all right? That is something that you can actually take to the table and make very important to why you deserve so much more money than other people. And the premium, well, you know what? I got a lot of Twitter followers. I got all of y'all in a room, didn't I? That's worth some money, right? It's also important that, hey, I work for Nike. I got a lot of shoes. You know, that's probably also something that says I'm very well aligned with your brand, and I'm an actual user of an application that, goodness gracious, it would probably be hard to find somebody who's that passionate of an Android developer and that passionate of a shoe collector. I have almost 300 pairs of shoes. I fully acknowledge my problems. But prepare, understand why you're a premium, why you're needed, why they would really want you, and what your value is in the marketplace. Negotiation program or a coach. So this is kind of an important one, and a lot of people don't do this. I'm gonna tell you, I pushed them up quite a bit from their initial offer. I'm not gonna throw a number out there, but you can find it on the internet. It's substantial. I actually did a negotiation program, and then I also had a negotiation coach, because you need to know where your numbers are to walk, to stay, to go, and understand that the moment that they have made an offer to you, they have already invested, what, 20 hours of time, right? Investigating you, you've talked to probably 7 or 8 people, right? How hard is it to hire a good Android developer in this economy and this situation? Fucking hard, right? So you need to know what you can actually push for, why you're a premium, and when you can push for it. And this is where it gets into kind of the last thing I'll talk about before we end this talk. Stay or leave. You can try to renegotiate for basically the place that you're already at. If it's grossly underpaid, a lot of times you can push them to give you that, but I will tell you that there is a lot of resentment at that moment, right? Because once you realize how underpaid you are, you realize how undervalued you are. And you're only as undervalued as they make you feel, right? So It's really hard, once you actually know that, to stay, but it's really important that you actually know that, right? And when you're talking about kind of moving on to maybe a different position or a different company, if you aren't doing the things that I outlined here, you are going to have the same outcome that you had in this position that you didn't like in the first place. And that's my alarm going off. Thank you, phone. Okay. So yes, we're kind of at time, but if you really want to talk to me more about this, we'll talk after this talk. I'll be out there. And some more resources that you should be aware of. I highly recommend this last one. That was the actual program that I did for negotiation that helped me make that cash money, y'all. Negotiator course by developer. It's actually recognized by the UN, so you're not getting fucked out of your money, all right? And it's got a money back guarantee. I highly recommend it. Some good personality tests, understanding burnout. And this is me. Please feel free to take a picture of the slides, and it would really help me a lot if you'd actually go through and do that survey. It's 3 questions. Most of them are actually multiple choice. Thank you very much, and good night.